Hello, hopefully you can hear me. Hi. Do let me know in the chat if you can hear me. Hi. All right, we're just going to get started in a little while. As we wait a little longer, please have a look at the questions that are in the description box. So there's two questions that I've left for you guys to think about, which are there any fields in which you think AI can't outperform humans? And the second question that you can think about is, what does it mean to be creative? So have a think about those. And that's going to be the focus of today's lesson. So today we're looking at AI and creativity. So we're going to look at different applications of AI within the creative fields, whether that's music, film, or art, and have a little think about how AI can be applied and whether that's a good thing or a bad thing for creativity and a good thing or a bad thing for the field as a whole. Cool. So, right, we're just going to get started. And in case you weren't here for the previous lesson, hi, my name's Caterina. I study computer science and artificial intelligence at the University of Edinburgh. And yeah, the purpose of this course is really to give you guys an introduction to AI in a non-applied, non-mathsy way, but really just as a way of understanding how it's going to affect all of our futures. Because no matter what you're interested in, what your favorite subject is, what your hobbies are, chances are that AI is probably going to affect your future. So it's really about seeing, all the different applications that we have and learning a little bit about it. Cool. So today, we're looking at AI and creativity. So let's get started. Okay, so the things we're going to look at today, in brief, is going to be AI in art, music, and film. We're going to look at the negative effects that this could have, as well as the positive effects that AI could bring to artists. And the thing that we're really going to be thinking about the whole way through is, what does it mean to be creative? That's what I want you guys to think about. What does creativity mean? And is it really possible for an AI to be creative? Okay, so that's what I want you guys to think about. And if you have any questions or if you have any thoughts you want to share, especially on, what creativity means to you, feel free to leave those in the chat. I would love to know your thoughts and I would love to make this as interactive with you guys as possible. Cool. Okay. So let's get started. And also, if anyone could confirm that you can hear me, that would be great. So if you want to say hi in the chat or anything to let me know that you can hear me, that would be great. Cool. Okay, we're going to get started in the meantime. So we're going to start with a quick quiz. So the way this quiz works is quite simple. So you guys have probably seen or heard of AI generated images before. So it's just images that have been made by an AI rather than a human. So how this quiz is going to work is that I'm going to show you guys two images. One of them will have been made by a human artist or taken by a photographer. And the other one will be an AI generated photo or art. So I want you guys to try and guess which one is which. So I'll give you guys about 10 seconds. And then I want you guys to guess which image is AI generated, and I will reveal which one has been AI generated. So hopefully those rules make sense, and we'll get started. I'll give you guys about 10 seconds for each one. Okay, so let's start with the first one. So one of these is AI generated, and one of these is made by a human. So have a think of which one you think is which. Might not be easy to guess. I know that this definitely wasn't very easy for me when I was making this quiz. So have a think. I'll give you guys maybe 5 more seconds to have a think, and then I'll reveal the results. Okay, let's see. Okay, so when the green box appears, that's the one that was AI generated. So it was B on the side that was AI generated. So keep your score as you go along. That was, I guess, like a practice one. I think there's 7 more. And yeah, it would be great if you guys let me know how many you get. It would be interesting to see how good you guys are at guessing whether an image has been AI generated or not. Let's move on to the next one. Okay, so again, I'll give you guys some time. Maybe I'll give you around 10 seconds to guess which one was generated by an AI and which one was made by a human. And you can either put your answers in the chat or you can just note down which one you think is AI generated, and then I'll reveal the results and you guys can keep track and let me know at the end how many you got right. Okay, so I'll reveal which one was made by an AI. Okay, it was A. So the one on the left was made by an AI. I feel like this one was a little bit easier than the previous one. A bit easier to tell that it was made by an AI. It's sort of a bit more blurry or rough around the edges than image B. Okay, let's move on to the next one. This one I think is more tricky. So again, have a think which one has been generated by an AI. I think this one's quite hard. Sometimes it's really good, isn't it? It's not easy to tell at all, especially if you don't know where to look in terms of what AI is good at doing and what it's bad at doing. Once you start to learn the tricks of what it's good at making in images and what it's bad at doing, it does get easier, right? I'll reveal the results. So it was B that was made by an AI. So B was made by an AI and A is made by a human artist. Okay, so that one was tricky, I think. Okay, right. We're getting harder and harder. Have a think. So one is AI generated and one was human generated. Which one do you think was made by the AI? I'll give you guys some time to think about it. And make sure you're keeping your score down because I want to know at the end how many you got right or how many you got wrong. It's interesting to know. Okay, so let's see. I'll give you guys a few more seconds to think about that one. Okay, and I'll reveal the results. Okay, so it was B. I'm not sure if that one caught you guys out. It definitely caught me out. Okay, so see someone in the chat made A was made by AI, but actually it was B made by an AI. So that one might be shocking to you guys. It was definitely shocking to me because I thought A was also made by the AI, but actually no. And you know, the way you can tell is if you look at B, have a look at the hands, you can see the hands are a little bit off. And then if you look at the ears as well, the ears are a little bit strange, aren't they? They're not completely right. So that's a trick for you guys to learn for the next few ones, to look out for the hands, because AI is not very good with hands especially. So that's how you could tell in this image, but this one was a tricky one, I will say. Okay, next one again. So I'll give you guys some time to guess which one was made by the AI. What do you guys think? They're quite similar, right? It's definitely not super easy to tell. Have a think. Okay, so someone says B. So someone thinks B is the AI generated image. I'll give you guys a few more seconds and then I'll reveal the results. Okay, so this one was B. And maybe you used my advice to look at the hands. Okay, so someone said A. Okay, so see, it's definitely not easy. It's not easy to tell, is it? So yeah, look at the hand in B. The hand looks off, doesn't it? It doesn't look right. It looks very strange. So always look at the hands and that will often give it away. Instead, you can see that in A, the hair is really good and really realistic, whilst in B, the hair does look good, but it's not maybe as detailed as in A. So those are things to look out for. Okay, so next one. Yeah, someone said the candy floss looks strange. That's another thing, yeah, definitely. So when you start to look at the details, you can tell more. Okay, this one's quite tricky. Have a go. I think maybe it's a bit easier to tell with photographs, but when it comes to art itself, it's not as easy to tell, is it? So I think which one is the AI generated one. And you can leave your guesses in the chat. I'll have a sip of water whilst you guys are guessing. Okay, someone says B. Someone thinks B is the AI generated one. Why do you think it's B? I'm interested to know why you think it's B. I remember I really wasn't sure with this one, which one to go for. Okay, I'll give you guys a few more seconds. I'll give you 5 more seconds. Okay, people are saying B. Let's reveal the results. Yeah, it is indeed B. Okay, you guys are better at this than me then, because when I guessed this, I guessed A. I thought A was the AI generated one. I think it's because the colors in B are so vibrant that I thought it would be made by an actual artist. But yeah, so I guess you can sort of see, maybe you guys used my advice to look at the hands. So you can see that the 2 girls holding hands there, it looks a bit weird. It doesn't really look very, very natural. So maybe that helped you guys figure out which one it is. Okay, so we have a few more images left. Have a go at this one. Which one do you think it is? I think it's harder when it's art. Let's have a think. I'll wait 10 more seconds, then I'll reveal the results. Okay, some people are saying A. me reveal the results for you guys. This one's A. I think this one you can tell a little bit more, right? When you look at it closely, it doesn't really make sense. And that's the case with a lot of these. Is from far away they look very impressive, but then when you look at the details, you're like, hang on a minute, that's a bit strange. But it can fool you when you're not looking at it carefully, definitely. Okay. This one I think is really hard. I think when it gets black and white, it's a lot more tricky. So if you guys can get this one, I'll be really impressed. And you're officially better at it than me if you can get this one. So I'll give you some time to think about that. Okay, someone's saying A. Anyone else? Okay. Oh, someone's saying that B is made by the AI, not A. Okay. So B made by the AI. Why do you think it's B? I'm interested to know your thought process there. Because I really didn't know where to start with this one. I mean, yeah, it's quite tricky, isn't it? I'll give you guys a few more seconds to think. Lock in your final answer, and I'll reveal the results. Okay, I'm going to reveal the results. Okay, so A was made by the AI. So someone in the chat said B, but actually it was A. So this one was quite tricky, wasn't it? Yeah, so this one I got wrong. So yeah, that one was the one made by the AI. Okay, this one's the last one. Last one in the quiz. So last image to guess which one was made by the AI and which one was made by a human photographer. What do you guys think? Which one's which? This one's quite hard. But if you use some of the advice that I gave you, maybe it should help. Not about the hands, but just the general stuff that we talked about. Okay, so a lot of people are saying A is made by the AI. And you would be correct. Yes, it is A. And I mean, you guys can tell me what helped you guess it, but I bet it was the waves, right? Yeah, someone says the waves do not look real. I agree. So it looks quite impressive, but yeah, the waves, they look too perfect almost, don't they? It doesn't really look realistic. So hopefully that's helped you see how sometimes it's not easy at all to tell which one's been generated by an AI and which one is actually a human image. And you guys were pretty good at telling which one was which, even though sometimes I think you didn't get them all right, if I'm correct. If anyone did get them all right, do let me know, that would be cool. But I think also, right, I told you guys that one of them was made by an AI and one of them was made by a human artist. But if you hadn't known that, you probably wouldn't have questioned, like you wouldn't have stood there staring at those waves and been like, no, that must be AI generated, if I just told you that it was made by a human, right? So yeah, hopefully you've learned a little bit about the fact that sometimes AI generated art can be quite impressive. So now we're going to talk a little bit about how it actually all works, right? So let's talk a little bit about AI and digital art. I don't know how much you guys know about it. Do let me know what you guys do know already. But yeah, so there's mainly 3 programs that are now very mainstream that are used to generate AI arts. So you may have heard of these. So it's Stable Diffusion, DALL-E 2, and Midjourney. So DALL-E 2 is actually made by the same people who made ChatGPT, which I'm sure you're all familiar with. Stable Diffusion was made by University Research Group, and Midjourney is just made by a private company. And they all deliver pretty good results. So how it works is that you give it a prompt, and it spits out some images based on that prompt. And they all work sort of in different ways, but very, very broadly, the way they work is that they're trained on huge, huge data sets. And I'm talking millions and millions of images of art and of different mediums and different styles. And that's all collated together to produce these images that sometimes are quite realistic, as we saw. So here are some examples, right, of images that have been fed in. And it shows you, hopefully you can see that. It's a bit blurry on my screen. Hopefully it's not as blurry on your screen. But you can see, so there's one made by Stable Diffusion, one made by DALL-E 2, and one made by Midjourney. So you can see that there's the prompt. The first one is a lone astronaut on Mars, mysterious, colorful, hyper-realistic. And those look quite good, don't they? And then there's another one, which is cherry blossom near a lake snowing. So often they can create quite pretty images. I recommend you guys try it out yourself. So you can try it out if you just search up Stable Diffusion or DALL-E 2 or Midjourney. If you just Google that. These softwares are free to use. Some of them, you only have a certain amount of credits. Like I believe DALL-E 2, it maybe only lets you generate about 20 images, something like that, before you have to actually start paying for it. But I think the other ones are completely free. But either way, you can try it out, and I do recommend you do. It's very fun to play around with. So have a go at doing that. Okay, so we've talked a little bit about how it works. Now let's think about some issues. If you guys can think of some potential issues that AI and digital art can cause, feel free to leave those in the chat. I'm sure you can already think of some potential issues. Anyone have any ideas? So we're going to be talking about that in a second. So issues in AI generating digital art. Have a think. And if you have any ideas, leave those in the chat. And in the meantime, we'll start talking about some of those issues that can arise. Okay. So the problem, and I'm sure you might have heard about this in the news already, is that we talked about, right, how these programs work by just being fed a huge amount of images, right, and artworks. The problem is that a lot of these artworks is actual art made by artists, right, that is copyrighted. And this causes problems because sometimes when a prompt is entered by a user, it'll spit out an image that is very, very similar to one made by an actual artist, right? And this causes all sorts of copyright issues. And I have an example for you guys on the next slide. So this is some art made by Greg Grotowski here on the top. Have you guys heard of this artist before? So he's a very famous artist. He makes this very cool sort of fantasy style art. And it's a very common prompt to use in these programs. So a lot of people, when they prompt the AI for an image, they'll put Greg Grotowski style in their prompts because they want to emulate that sort of same style. And as you can see, this is a prompt that's been put into Midjourney and the image that's been spat out. So wizard with sword and a glowing orb of magic fire fights a fierce dragon, Greg Grotowski. And okay, obviously you can tell that it's nowhere near as good as the original, right? I mean, clearly. But also you can see how it is a very similar style. It's very similar, and you can tell that this image has somewhat been generated based off of that image. And this causes, a huge problem for artists in terms of copyright, and just they don't want their style to be copied, of course. So Greg Grotowski is just an example of one artist that's been very outspoken about that. So his name has been used more than 100,000 times in prompts in this type of software. And this clearly is causing issues. So yeah, that's one big issue in the field. So there are starting to be things to tackle these issues. So for example, there's this website that's been made called Have I Been Trained? And basically, if you're an artist, you can type in your name and you can find out if your art has been used to train these data sets. And there's an option for you to opt out of being used in training future data sets. So those are sort of things that are starting to be put in place in order to protect artists. However, there's still a long way that needs to go. And I mean, this is all at its infancy. This is all happening right now. So I'm just giving you guys sort of the laydown of everything that's happening, the issues and the positives, and what's in the future with AI art and creativity. And in a little while, when we discuss music and film, we'll also talk a little bit about the positives that AI could bring to the industry. But yeah, okay, so now let's talk a little bit about AI in the music industry. I'm interested to know if you guys have seen any AI-generated art. I know it's maybe not as mainstream yet as AI in digital arts. However, you guys may have maybe seen some covers of famous music made by AI. So one cover went quite viral. It was a cover of, it was like an AI-generated song with Drake's voice that went viral. So that's starting to come out as well, and that comes with its own sort of host of issues. So Covers AI is a very famous website that's been used to generate these covers. And you can use it yourself if you search it up, covers.ai. And it generates covers with famous music artists' voices. So again, you can try it out yourself. And then another very famous software that's come out is called Google Music LM. And this generates little sound bites based on text prompts. So it sort of does the same thing that Midjourney or Stable Diffusion or the art software we talked about does with art, but with music, right? And it was trained on 280,000 hours of music. So really impressive, huge data set, but it hasn't yet been released. But I'll give you guys an example that's sort of been given in the documentation, even though it hasn't been properly released yet. And I'll play the music for you guys. Hopefully you can hear it. I really hope you guys can hear it. But yeah, let's read the prompt together first. So the prompt that was given is the main soundtrack of an arcade game. It is fast-paced and upbeat with a catchy electric guitar riff. The music is repetitive and easy to remember, but with unexpected sounds like cymbal crashes or drum rolls. Okay, so that was the prompt that's given, and now let's have a listen of what the AI produced based on that. Okay, so yeah, I would love to know what you guys think, if you think that was, I don't know, accurate to the prompt. I mean, I'm not an expert in music, so I'm maybe not the best person to ask, but sort of to the untrained ear, that sounds quite impressive to me, or at least it sounds quite similar to what I'd expect based on the prompt. So yeah, that's interesting. But as we said, this has not yet been released. So Google Music LM has not yet been released because it's been found that about 1% of the music it generated was a direct replica of copyrighted work. So again, this is the same issue that we were sort of finding in art. It's just generating a lot of stuff that is just actually based off of other people's work, which is becoming a huge issue. Okay, so people are saying in the chat that was quite good. Yeah, it covered a lot of the prompt. Yeah, I think so as well. I think that it does pretty well, doesn't it? But sadly, that we've only had these small snippets to look at because it hasn't been released to the public yet because of all these issues of potentially copying other people's work. But I think it will be released in the future. It's just that there sort of needs to be a moment to deal with all these copyright issues. And as you can see, these are some news titles that are coming out with streaming services such as Spotify, which are being urged to clamp down on AI generated music. So people are putting on these platforms all sorts of music generated by AI in the voices of other artists. And this is a huge problem. So it's a big moment right now where people are trying to stop this, and there's a lot of work that needs to be done to prevent that from happening. But there is a lot of potential in this. I'm sure even just from that little snippet, you could see how that could be useful to a lot of people. And we're going to talk a little bit more now about some of the positives that could come for using music and music AI. So maybe artists could use AI as a tool to their advantage. So we're going to listen to a quick snippet of a TED Talk, which talks about an artist that's using AI to her advantage. So let me play that for you guys.
Hi, my name's Holly, and I'm an artist. That was my voice, but I didn't sing that clip. I trained an AI on my own voice, and now she can sing anything in multiple languages. Her name is Holly Plus, and you just heard her perform El Cant de la Sabila, which is a traditional song arranged by Maria Arnal in Catalan, not a language that I speak, and not a vocal tradition that I've trained in. Those melismatic runs are really difficult to hit. To show you Holly Plus's full range, I'll also play an example in German. This is Mac the Knife by Brecht. Und der Haffisch, der Hakzerner, und die Traktor im Gesicht. Of course, Holly Plus can, thank you. Of course, Holly Plus can also perform my own music. So here's an excerpt from my own song, Frontier.
Love, listen to what the silver say, their world is long gone.
Holly Plus uses a process called timbre transfer, where the timbre or sound quality of one sound may be mapped onto the performance of another. Timbre transfer is done by creating a machine learning model of a sound. In this case, it's my voice. So I recorded a wide variety of phrases in my entire vocal range. To be clear, this version of Holly Plus is reading notes from a score. So I'll also play you an example of her singing in Spanish, Bésame Mucho by Velázquez.
Bésame, bésame mucho, como si fuera esta noche la última vez.
Thank you. I can't speak Spanish, by the way, so. Teaching an AI the song.
Okay, so yeah, okay, I'm not going to play the whole thing, just play that small bit of it, but I think it's quite interesting, isn't it? I'd love to know you guys' thoughts. But I thought that that was really cool. So that was a very recent TED Talk. I can tell you guys when it was published, just to tell you. So, okay, this is 8 months ago. So pretty recent. But that's something that I'd never really even thought about, that it would be possible for artists to use AI in that way to, just produce songs in languages that they don't even speak. Someone says, yeah, someone says it's cool but deceiving. Absolutely. I think that's really what we're getting at here, isn't it? Is that there's always a double-edged sword. Like there's always a flip side of the coin. And I think it really gets at the question of, what do we actually value in music and in a music artist? Because I would say, and I'd love to know you guys' thoughts on this, but some people would say that at least part of the reason why music artists are respected or looked up to is their ability to sing in a way that maybe other people can't, right? It's the vocal range, it's the technical capabilities of that person. So it's interesting, isn't it? But I think it's interesting to think about the fact that there are possibilities and it could open up potential for people. And I think it also just makes us realize how much all these fields could change. You might think that music may not be so related or affected by technology, but really it seems like it might be. So yeah, that was just a video I wanted you guys to see and have a think about and see what you guys think. Okay, we have one more quick section to look at, but this is a very quick one. We're just going to think a little bit about filmmaking and AI in film. So I'm not going to play this for you guys because it's quite long, but I do definitely recommend for you guys to go away and watch it if you're interested. So it's an AI generated movie called The Frost, and this is very recent. So I saw this published on the newspapers, I think a few days ago. So this is very, very recent movie that was generated using DALL-E 2, which is one of the softwares we were talking about earlier. And I'll tell you right off the bat, it's not great. You're not going to watch it and be deceived and think, oh, this definitely wasn't made by an AI. It's very clear. It sort of looks like a video game in terms of the graphics. Like it's definitely not perfect. And some of the images sometimes are just very clearly wrong. But I do think it's very cool though that the entire thing was generated by an AI. So you guys should go away and watch that and let me know what you guys think. You can tell me next lesson if you guys thought that was impressive or not. But again, this opens up so much possibility for film. And yeah, that's the last thing that we just want to think about is film. So can it help? So in some ways, maybe it can help, right? It can maybe speed up some processes. And that's something to think about for all fields, right? It's again, this double-edged sword of it can maybe hinder us, but at the same time, maybe AI could make it so that we don't have to do all the menial tasks or all the menial parts of the job that we don't like doing. So this could help the film industry in some ways. And that's what some people are saying. And then other people are very against this. So at the moment, there's a writer's strike going on in the US. And part of it, or part of the reason why this strike is going on is that writers are taking a stand against AI, and they're worried about the future of their jobs in this AI boom. So these are all things to think about, and things that are currently being discussed and legislation made. We're very much sort of in the middle of this in terms of solutions. But yeah, I'd love to know what you guys think. We've reached the end of the session, but we have time for questions if anyone has any questions or thoughts they want to share. And I really do encourage you guys to also answer each other's questions, because I want you guys to think about this as sort of an open-ended way, especially at the moment. There aren't necessarily a lot of right or wrong answers, right? No one really has the answer. Even AI researchers don't know how this field should develop in a way that it's going to benefit everyone in a safe way. But I'd love to know you guys' thoughts, and if you guys want to also think about the starter questions and answer those that are in the description box, that would be great if you guys want to think about that and let me know what you think. So the 2 questions were, are there any fields in which you think AI can't outperform humans? Like, do you think there's just some fields where AI can never be as good, nowhere near as good, where they just can't do as well? So that's the first question. And then the other question that you guys can answer if you want to is, what does it mean to be creative? What does creativity even mean? And do you think it's possible for an AI to make something that is I guess, actually creative? So you guys can have a think about those, and we'll wait a few minutes if you guys have any questions. So if you guys have any questions, you can let me know, or if you want to answer those questions and have a discussion about if you think it's possible to be creative, an AI to be creative, or any fields in which you think AI can't do as well, let me know. And we'll just wait a few minutes, see if anyone has any questions or queries, or even if you want to know anything about the next session. So there's 6 small sessions happening at the same time each week. So yeah. Oh, okay, someone asks what the next session's about. So yeah, there's 6 more sessions, but I haven't laid out which, like, in what order I want to do them in. But I think the next session is probably going to be all about ChatGPT and all of those text prompt type AI. So today was all about creativity, and next session we're going to talk about ChatGPT and other types of AI that's based on text prompts. So not just ChatGPT, but everything that helps us with writing, because that, I would say, is at the moment probably the most famous AI application that's happening. So we're going to talk about that and AI chatbots in general. So there's even like therapy bots that people are creating to help people with therapy, but there's all sorts of stuff. So we're going to talk about that, and we're also going to be talking about AI in translation, so stuff like Google Translate. So that's all sorts of AI chatbots. So we're going to do a session on that. But yeah, I mean, the other sessions, I have the list here so I can tell you what else we're going to look at. We're going to look at AI robots, so that includes like space exploration robots, Mars rover, that sort of thing, and autonomous vehicles. We're going to talk about AI in games. We're going to talk about AI and ethics, right? So bias, privacy, all of those issues, deep fakes. We're going to talk about AI and like for good stuff like education, healthcare, environmental sustainability. And then we're going to talk about AI for personalized experiences such as social media. Okay, someone asks, is it possible to detect AI without being told? That's a really good question. I mean, part of it we were thinking about at the start of the session, right? That's kind of what we were testing, right? When I was showing you guys the AI-generated images and the human-generated images and asking you guys to guess which one's which. And we found out that, I mean, at least for humans, it's not always very obvious which one's the AI one. However, if you mean, is it possible for other AIs to detect AI? The answer is sort of, but not very well yet. So, for example, if you've ever used ChatGPT, there is software out there that can sort of detect if text has been generated by ChatGPT, but it isn't perfect yet. It's not perfect at always being able to tell when it's AI generated or not. But we're sort of working on trying to do that. But it's difficult. I think with images and AI generated content like that, it is sort of, I mean, it's not completely obvious, but if you've been told that it could be an AI generated image and you look at it carefully, you can maybe tell most of the time. We talked a little bit about the ways you can tell, such as like looking at the hands, looking at the ears, or looking at the hair. Those are the typical things that help you be able to tell if it's an AI generated image, especially hands. AI is really, really bad with hands. But yeah, that's a really good question. And the answer is it actually depends. But no, it's not always possible to detect if something is AI generated. Also because it sort of it feeds on itself, right? And it gets better and better. It learns how to make it more and more realistic. And that's sort of the purpose of this. But yeah, it's definitely not always able. We're not always able to tell when something in it is AI and when it is not. But we're working on that, sort of, especially being able to generate when text is generated by ChatGPT to prevent plagiarism, that sort of stuff. Actually, recently there was a photo. I should have added this in as the slides. I wonder if I can do that now and show you guys. That would be interesting, wouldn't it? But recently there's this competition that was won by a photographer. It was a photography competition in the US, and the image that won was an AI generated image. Obviously, he didn't tell the people that the image he made was made by an AI, but he did win a competition with it. So that's interesting, and that I think is an application where you would say, okay, well, we should have some software in place to be able to detect if it's AI, right? Because I mean, I don't know. I don't know. That's another good question. Is it cheating if you use AI to win a competition? Because I would say that it. I mean, I don't know. Instinctively, it feels like it is, isn't it? What do you guys think? But yeah, we definitely do need to make more progress in developing software to detect AI. But I think that goes hand in hand with the development of AI. Cool. Okay. We're nearing the end of the session. If anyone else has any more questions, I'll wait maybe like just a few more minutes. But yeah, or if you guys have any more questions about how the sessions will run. But yeah, they basically have the exact same format. We'll look at one big issue in AI. We're going to try and cover as much ground as possible, as many different topics as possible. Give you guys a good feel of the different ways it's being applied. Again, we're not going to go too much into the detail of the maths application, mostly because I want it to be really accessible to all. And I think you don't have to have a maths background to understand how AI is going to affect the world for everyone, right? So that's really the focus of this, is to just give you guys an overview of what's happening in all the different fields and how it's going to affect fields. Okay, so unless anyone has any more questions, we'll end the stream, and then I'll see you guys next week. So same time, 4 p.m. next week, and we're probably going to be talking about chatbots is what I'll do next. Cool. Okay. All right. Lovely to see you guys, and I'll see you guys next week. Thank you for coming along, and hope you enjoy the session. Bye bye.